Hari Om. Today we will proceed to Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18 from verse number 45. In the previous verses, Lord Krishna spoke about the importance of dividing the human race into four categories, that is Brahmana, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and Sudras. And this category is not based in the family according to the family we are born, but according to our inherent nature. So Brahmana is basically someone who acquires knowledge and what we call teacher's knowledge. For example, professor, teacher, lecturer, etc. Kshatriya is one who is in government administration and in law and order. Vaishya is one who is engaged in all kinds of businesses, trading, etc. And a Sudra is the laborer or the working force that is required also. So the Lord says, according to our own nature, not based on the family we are born, according to our own nature, to follow that line of work, and that will lead us to what we call spiritual fulfillment. So now in today's verse, he explains what should be the attitude of every human being while we are discharging our duties. So as we are divided into these four classes, it is our own choice to choose according to our nature. And how can we, while performing our duties, convert every action into an offering or into a worship of the Lord? So the Lord says here in chapter 18, verse number 45, he says, Abhirataha. First of all, Abhirataha, be devoted, be committed to what? Sway, your own karmani, your own duty. Be committed. Understand what is your position in life. So even our duties vary according to our age and according to the place. For example, we start off as a bachelor. As a student, we have different responsibilities. Then we move on to family life, we have different responsibilities and so forth. And also, depending on the place, when we are in the house, we play a different role. When we go to our workplace, we have different sets of responsibilities and duties. So Lord says, understand what are your duties, be committed to them. Abhirataha sway karmani. According to what is your duty, be committed to it. And perform your duties with commitment. So what he's trying to say here also is that there is no duty which is inferior superior. There is no such thing as an inferior superior duty. The most important is how committed you are to performing your duty in an efficient manner. So what happens when a person is committed to their duties, meaning we should not also compare that person's duty looks more convenient or more easy to do, but just concentrate on your duties. So what happens when we are committed to our duties? The Lord says, if the attitude is correct, what is the attitude? He's going to explain to us in verse number 46. He says, Naraha, a man, meaning all human beings, who perform their duties with commitment, labate, attains sam siddhim, complete perfection. Siddhi means perfection, sam siddhi means complete perfection. Now, what is this complete perfection? When we perform our duties with the right attitude and with commitment, we will attain what is known in the scriptures as Chitta Shuddhi. Chitta Shuddhi. Chitta means mind. Shuddhi means purification. It means our ego, our anger, our greed, our envy, all this, they disappear. They become diluted. Because our attitude of performing duty is only to serve the Lord. This will be emphasized in the next verse. So first of all, Lord says, if you are committed to your duty, perform your duties to the best of your ability. He says, Naraha labate samsiddhim. A human being attains complete purification, chitta shuddhi, inner purification, mind becomes pure. So that is the result of performing our duties. So the Lord now says, Shrunu, listen, tat, to that, yatha, as to how. How, now the Lord is going to tell us the secret of the attitude, to maintain that right attitude that will lead us to inner purification. The Lord says, Srunu tat yatha, listen to that, as to how swa karmana nirataha, one who is devoted to his own duty, right, vindati, attains siddhim, perfection. So the Lord says, now I'm going to tell you how that person who is devoted to his or her duties will attain perfection. That attitude, what is the right attitude to maintain? So again, there is no such thing as an inferior caste or superior caste. All the duties are the same according to the Lord. It is the attitude that you perform that makes the difference. So what is that attitude? The Lord will explain now in verse number 46. Now, whatever actions you perform, whatever duties you do, every action can be converted into a worship of the Lord. And two factors must be taken into consideration. One is your attitude towards your actions. Always remember, whatever actions I'm doing is an offering to the Lord. It is a mental attitude. So, doing your duties with commitment and having this mental attitude that I am serving the Lord. Okay? And the second is, every action that we do, there will be a result called karma phalam. So, how do I handle it? Because when I perform my duty or any action, there may be success, there may be failure also. So, I must learn how to handle both success and failure also. In success, I must not get carried away. I must remember to thank the Lord for whatever what we call positive things that have come about in my life. And with every failure, also I thank the Lord. Why? Because the Lord wants me to learn a lesson from this. So I must not succumb, I must not get dejected, but I must try to learn a lesson from my failures and rise up again from that. So we have to understand both success and failure are coming from the Lord. And anything that comes from the Lord must not be rejected, must be taken as sacred, must be taken as pure. So the Lord now explains in this verse number 46, Yataha, from whom, Pravrti, the origin, Bhutanam, of all the entities. We must keep our mind that where have we come from? Where has this whole creation come from? Everything has come from the Lord. The Lord is the source, the Lord is the cause of this whole creation. So, the Lord says, Yatha Pravrti Bhutanam, from whom the origin of all entities, and not only the origin, Yena, by whom, Sarvam Idam, all this, meaning this whole creation, Tatam, is pervaded. We must remember every moment that not only the Lord created this creation, created us, but He is also pervading, He is also within us. He is also in every aspect of the creation, the Lord is there. So He is there. He is what we call, He is the witness that is witnessing everything here in the creation. So Lord is the cause and He is also in the creation also. We recall the law of cause and effect. The law of cause and effect says cause is always in the effect. Example, wood is the cause of furniture. It means wood is in all furniture. Gold is the cause of all ornaments, means gold is in on all the ornaments. So if we say Lord is the cause of the creation, what it means is that Lord is present in the whole creation. So, remembering two things: Lord is the cause of this creation, Lord is in the creation, and various Upanishads like the Taittiriya Upanishad, Mandukya Upanishad, they all say this. I'll just give you one example from the Taittiriya Upanishad. It says in that Upanishad, crave to know that from which all these beings take birth, that by which they live after being created, that towards which they move and into which they merge, that is Brahman. That is what this verse also is trying to tell us, to keep our mind fixed on that. So, he goes on to say in this verse number 46, he says, so knowing the Creator, knowing that He alone created everything, knowing that He is also in the creation, what should we do? The Lord says, Abhyarikshya, by adoring, by pleasing Tam, Him, the Lord. How do we adore the Lord? Here He gives us the key. Swakarmanaha, by the very performance of our duties. The Lord is not saying to offer Him fruits, tons and tons of fruits, tons and tons of flowers, liters and liters of milk. He's saying, adore Him, adore the Lord, or rather He's saying, adore me. How? By the performance of your duties. By taking up your duties with commitment, with the right attitude, the Lord says that alone is the purest form of worship. So simple. Actually, worship has been made so simple. It is we human beings who have complicated the whole process of worshipping the Lord by coming up with these elaborate rituals. If you want to do it, there's nothing wrong. But the question here is that let us see what the Lord Himself wants. He's saying, adore the Lord, adore the Creator, adore the one who is all-pervading in this creation. How? Swakarmanaha, perform your duties according to your time and place. Don't have to think about doing elaborate prayers and rituals. Just perform your duties. The Lord says, by performing the duties, you please the Lord. And what happens? Manava, a human being, Vindati, achieves or attains through the Lord's grace. By performing your duties, He is pleased. So a human being will receive His grace and attain siddhim, perfection. This perfection, as I mentioned in the previous verse also, it means inner purity, purification of the mind. When we don't act from our ego, from jealousy, anger, pride, but we consider every action as pleasing the Lord. How through my service I perform my action and surrender it to the Lord, it pleases the Lord, and the end result is the inner purification. So may you seek to please Him, worship Him through the performance of your duties as an offering to Him. As He is everywhere, He is in everything, and He is witnessing everything. So perform your actions and offer it to Him. So, what's the difference between an enlightened person and an unenlightened person? An enlightened person works from happiness. He has already attained that sense of inner peace and inner happiness. He discharges all his actions as a service to the Lord. So he's working from happiness. Whereas the ignorant person works for happiness. He is searching for that elusive happiness from his actions. So you have a choice whether you want to work from happiness, from a peaceful mind, or are you always searching for happiness from each and every action that you do? So that is something you have to think about and decide. Now, in verse number 47, the Lord will say that there is no such thing as an inferior or superior duty. All duties are the same. So how does he put it here? He says, Swadharma, one's own duty. This is verse number 47. Yes, 47. Swadharma, one's own duty, Viguna, even though it is defective. Defective meaning we may find that our duty has got many challenges. We start comparing with other people's duties. Why does their duty look so easy, so simple to do? Why are there so many obstacles in my duty? So the Lord says, Swadharma, one's own duty, even though it may be viguna, defective meaning difficult to do, there may be many challenges, yet one should never ever abandon a duty because of these difficulties that we face. Because these difficulties also are there for a purpose. Because each of us come to this world, we are born with our own karmas. And we have to discharge these karmas. Maybe we go through certain pleasant experiences, certain unpleasant experiences, but the purpose is to exhaust these karmas. So never ever should we compare our duty against the duty of another and think that therefore our duty is defective, it is difficult, there are too many obstacles. So the Lord says, Swadharma Viguna, even though one's duty may be defective, challenging, he says, and Sreya, other more superior, Paradharmat, another person's duty may look more superior, easier to perform, but Swanushtitat, well performed. So here he says, better to do one's own duty, even though it is defective, than performing another person's duty in a more efficient manner. You may be able to do the other person's duty more efficiently because there are less challenges, less obstacles. But the Lord says, don't abandon your own duty for the wrong reasons. Just because there are challenges, just because there are obstacles. For example, some of us have got aged parents to look after. They may be sickly, they need a lot of attention. We may need to take them to the hospital, etc. Frequently visits to the doctor. And then we look at other person and he says, oh, but he doesn't have to take care of his parents. So his duty looks easier. So why don't I also just abandon my parents and just live my life? No, there is a reason that is a duty for you to do. That is your given duty. You should never ever run away from it. And don't compare with others also. So, or sometimes we find some people, they do some actions and they get praise, and we do so much of work and we don't even get any acknowledgement, and we think better I do that person's work because he seems to be getting all the praises. No, again, do whatever is your duty, but as the Lord says, it is the attitude of your duty that is very important. So same thing now, what is the Lord trying to tell Arjuna? Your duty as a soldier, you find that killing your kith and kin is a terrible duty. So you think by running away from the battlefield and taking to a life of a renunciate, you think that is a more easier duty, a more simpler duty, and it won't give you what you call agitation of the mind. But do you know, even as a renunciate, if you live in the forest, there are different challenges. Where do you get your food? You have no money, you have no shelter. So every duty has its own set of challenges. We should never ever feel that our duty is inferior or superior also. So this is also a message to Arjuna also. And the Lord says, Kurvan, by performing karma, by performing action according to your duties and obligations, Swabhava niyatam. Swabhava niyatam means, Subhava means our own nature. Niyatam means as dictated by our own nature. Whatever is your nature, you perform your duties. Na apnoti kil visham. One will not attain any sin. So when we, for example, Arjuna said that if I kill my kith and kin on this battlefield, I will accrue sin. But the Lord is telling him, no, it is your duty as a Kshatriya, as a soldier, and in the course of the duty, while you are protecting dharma, upholding justice, you may have to kill. that killing will not incur you any sin also. And there is one more very nice verse that we should recall in chapter 2, verse 38. Chapter 2, verse 38, where the Lord said, having made pain and pleasure, gain and loss, conquest and defeat the same, accept both with that same mental attitude, engaged thou then in battle, so shalt thou incur no sin. So this was what the Lord told him. Don't look at the end result. Do your duty. As long as you're performing your duty as a surrender to the Lord, the result, whatever it is, pleasant or unpleasant, accept it with an even-mindedness also. So, we have to understand that performing our duties is very important and not to run away. Now we come to verse number 48. So in verse number 48, the Lord says here also, He gives an allegory to explain about duties also. Okay, where the Lord says there is no such thing as a perfect duty. It doesn't mean that a renunciate's duty is more perfect than a soldier's duty. A soldier's duty is more perfect than a laborer's duty. No. So the Lord says to Arjuna, He says Kaunteya, which is another name for Arjuna, Na tyajit, no one should. Tyajit means give up. Karma, one's own duty. So again, the Lord keeps on emphasizing, whatever is your duty, whatever challenges you have to face, face them. Don't give up the duty and try to do someone else's duty or a different duty. So every duty performed without attachment will lead to inner purification. So the Lord says, Sahajam, how do I know which is my duty, to which one is born? So according to the what we call the environment we are born, your own inherent nature will lead you to take up that duty. So sometimes we are born in a certain environment that offers us certain opportunities, and then according to our own inherent nature, we should follow that kind of duty also. So again, it does not mean in the family, it still comes back to your own inherent nature, because He says here, one should never give up one's duty, even though defective. That is said here in verse number 48. Okay, even though sadosham, even though faulty, don't run away from your duty. He's repeating the same thing here. When you face obstacles or problems, again I will mention that all these obstacles which are there while you're performing your duties is to exhaust your past karmas. So by running away from these duties, these same obstacles will come back and present themselves to you in a different way, right? So do it according to your own nature. Okay, follow your swadharma, your own nature. And then he says, what is the reason for not giving up one's own duty? He says, sarva, because all arambaha, all the undertakings, whether you are a brahmana, you are a kshatriya, you are a teacher, you are a soldier, you are a businessman, whatever you are, he says, whether you are a family man, you have different set of obstacles, you are a student, you have different set of obstacles. He says all duties are doshena. Doshena means they all have defects. Every duty has got challenges, has got its own set of problems. And that should not be a reason for us to abandon or give up our duties also. In short, there is no perfect duty. There is no such thing as an inferior or superior duty. It is your attitude that makes the duty perfect or imperfect also. So the Lord gives an allegory to explain this, that all duties have got defects. And He says, Eva, just as Agnir, fire, is surrounded or enveloped by dhumena, by smoke. As they say, there is no smoke without fire. Every fire there is smoke. Every duty has its own inherent challenges, its own inherent defects. So this brings us to verse number 49 here. And in verse number 49, so the Lord carries on to explain about the right path of action. So here he says the buddhi, now he talks about the intellect. So every action a human being does has to be performed with the guidance of the intellect. That is very important. Not from the emotional mind, but from the what we call the discriminating intellect. So the Lord says the buddhi, the intellect, remains asaktaha, unattached. To what? Sarvatra, to everything. So here he says the intellect is unattached to everything. That means understanding that possessions, family, position, everything is temporary. We should not be so attached, we should not be so engrossed to our power, our position, our family, our bank balance, etc. because everything is temporary. So, what is the other quality? He says first is the intellect must be very clear that everything is temporary, so don't be attached to it. It does not mean you cannot possess it, but it should not possess you. It should not affect the state of your mind. First quality. Second quality, jitatma. Jitatma here, there are two words, jita atma. Atma here means the mind. So Atma has got many meanings. Atma just does not mean soul. In this context, Atma means the mind. Jit Atma means one who has conquered, one who is the master of his or her mind. So the mind, as we mentioned, is emotional. It gives in to likes and dislikes. So one who has conquered the mind means one who is beyond likes and dislikes, who does not follow his emotional mind, does not follow the dictates of the what we call the monkey mind. That is Jitatma. Third quality, Vigataha Spraha. Vigataha Spraha means does not entertain cravings for external enjoyments. Now, here's very important to understand. We must not suppress desires. By suppressing desires, it's not going to work. But it is an intelligent understanding of the defects in the world, that the world does not have the capacity to give me eternal peace and tranquility. Why? Why does the world not have the capacity to give me internal peace and tranquility? Because the world itself is subject to change. When the world is subject to change, how can I get infinite peace and tranquility from the world? So therefore, I have things in the world, I can enjoy them, but I must understand I must not be dependent on them. I must not crave for them. Because this craving, this dependence is what takes away the peace of mind. So Vigata Spraha means understanding with the intelligent mind, not depending on or craving for things of the world. Whatever comes, we accept it, we enjoy it, but we don't crave for things also. And the same thing Lord had said in chapter 9 verse 33, a beautiful verse there. It said, Anityam asukam lokam. The lokam, remember this world is anityam, it is temporary. Anything can change at any time. Your bank balance, your relationships, anything, your business, anything can change at any time. So he says the lokam is anityam, it is temporary, and it is asukam, it is the very source of sorrow. Anything that upon arrival is a source of your happiness, upon departure will be a source of your sorrow. So we have to keep this in mind. So what does he say here in this verse number 49? He says, so three qualities he has given us. One is buddhi asaktaha, unattached intellect to everything. Jitatma, who has conquered his mind. Vikata Spraha, who does not have unnecessary cravings or very strong cravings, who is able to control those cravings. What happens? He says, such a person, Adhigacchati, attains Naishkarmyam Siddhi, success in the form of realization of the Absolute. So this is one step higher than just some Siddhim. This is Naish Karmyam Siddhim. It is to realize that absolute bliss known as Brahman or Nirguna Brahman, to reach that state of infinite absolute bliss. Okay? It is the state known as Samyasena, renunciation. Again, renunciation does not mean giving up things. Renunciation means not being affected by the world. So, here he has explained to us how to attain that state of mind. And there is a whole text known as Nais Karmya Siddhim. It is a whole full text known as Nais Karmya Siddhi, which is written by Sureshwara. Sureshwara was one of the 4 greatest disciples of Adi Sankaracharya. And this text, you can find it on the internet. It consists of 423 verses divided into 4 chapters, and it expounds the knowledge of the self according to Advaita theory. So that is the highest state, Naishkarmya Siddhim, that the Lord has said eventually a person will attain that state. So in the next recording, when we come back, we will take up from chapter 18, verse number 50, and thus we will end our what we call discussion here. Hari Om Tat Sat.